The argument for an e-bike: less suffering and more fun. Now, with that being said, there definitely still seems to be a love-hate relationship with enthusiasts. It's sort of split by the purists who want to ride under human power only, and those who, in my opinion, are actually just looking for less suffering and more fun with the limited time they have to ride.
This trail is called Sarah's Way. Love this trail. I'm actually running it in trail mode here so I can go a little faster.
Now, at first, when I got the e-bike, it honestly did feel like cheating to some degree, so I can relate to the purist in that sense. Like, I get it. However, after putting on nearly 100 miles with the Polygon T6e, I do not feel that way at all anymore. So that was like kind of a naive opinion. I look at it now as simply having the ability to dial in my riding experience based on the available time I have, the terrain I am riding on, and, you know, how much I want to work. Basically, the e-bike is a tool I'm using to help dial in my fun meter. That's definitely like how I look at it now. The Polygon T6e is quickly becoming my new favorite tool of the trade. So still today, there is a slowly fading stigma that e-bike riders have given up and are just lazy. I guess that thought is that if I'm out there suffering, you should be too, and it's just not fair, you're cheating, etc. If I boil it down, I really think it's just a matter of purist riders seeing the e-bike riders not suffering as much, and they simply get a little jealous of that fact. I mean, we are humans after all, so I can kind of relate to that as well. Now, mind you, this is the way that I'm seeing it as I watch my friends, you know, slowly come on board to the fact that the e-bike is way more fun and can offer way less suffering as well. And of course, not all cyclists feel this way, but I keep hearing it come up over and over. So I think it's pretty funny at this point, to be honest with you, you know what I mean? So I'm 46 years old, and I want to have as much fun as possible while I still can with the limited spare time I have. So what do I exactly mean by suffering? For example, riding a full suspension mountain bike on regular trails will 100% require X amount of out of breath, leaning over the bars, legs on fire, and so forth, as I call it, especially early in the season like it is right now, as I'm getting into shape. Now, I am not saying this is a bad thing by any means, as hard exercise is clearly fantastic, and the better shape you are in, the more aggressive you can ride, the longer you can ride, and the faster you can ride. But what I am saying is that suffering is daunting, and it keeps me from wanting to ride my regular mountain bike, especially early in the season, like just knowing how much suffering there's going to be. Now, you can call me lazy if you want, but suffering sucks, as we all know, and having the ability to turn that on and off like a light switch with the e-bike while riding is a huge game changer. Endurance is real, but here's the thing. I just don't have the desire or time to put in all the hours required to get in really good enough shape to ride how I want to ride. Basically, I need to suffer for X amount of hours before I'll be able to enjoy most of the ride. And that's just known as the process of getting in shape. Now, with the e-bike, there can be almost no suffering as it pertains to cardio out of breath if you want to ride like that. Or you can just dial it back and get an insane cardio workout if you want. It's literally the best of both worlds, dialing in that experience. So for example, if we were to do a 16-mile ride at Stewart, which is like my go-to place with my friends, there would be about 5 to 10 miles of suffering and about 5 miles of fun where it's either downhill or like those cool flowy sections with berms and stuff, which I absolutely love. And when I say suffering, I just mean not smiling and being out of breath, basically. Not that bad, clearly, as it's great exercise, but just trying to make the point that the suffering can be eliminated if you want. Like, you could just cancel it out. Like, it's crazy. So what I am finding as I get into better shape this season is I am almost using eco mode most of the time, which cancels out the weight of the bike and gives just a little bit of assistance, making the ride reasonable with fairly little suffering. Now I can simply ride faster if I want to get out of breath and get a good leg burn in, or I can put it in trail mode and go faster without getting out of breath as much. It's totally up to me how I dial in the experience. The more I ride the Polygon T6E, the more I am realizing it is the future of mountain biking for me. I would much rather have a higher average speed and do many more miles of fun in the same amount of time as a non-e-bike ride would have provided. My last ride at Stewart, for example, was so much fun, I felt like a little kid again. This is what happens with the e-bike, guys. Also, don't get me wrong, I am not trying to avoid getting into shape. I simply want to maximize my fun per hour meter in this, thing we call life. Now, the e-bikes are more money for sure, but what you get is such an enhancement to the mountain biking experience, in my opinion, that the extra cost easily outweighs the benefits you get. It's like not even close. Just think about how much more fun those technical hill climb sections can be with a little assistance if you need it, especially if you have no chance in making it on a regular bike, or if you're just not physically fit enough, it just is what it is. So purists versus e-bike riders. I often think that people that are in great shape just don't realize how hard stuff is when you are not in great shape. Let's take runners, for example, because for me, that is one of the hardest physical activities that I've ever tried. Like, I hate running. I can hike 10 miles, no problem, but to run 1 mile would be extremely difficult for someone like me because I don't do it, and the lack of cardio, clearly, like my body's not trained for that activity. Just daunting to think about how much I would have to run to get in shape enough to just enjoy running. You know what I'm saying? Same concept applies to mountain biking in my mind. Now, with that being said, I'm definitely in way better mountain bike shape than running shape, but Now, also, with that being said, if you have the skills to ride a mountain bike from your past, but know you're in nowhere near good enough shape to ride at your potential or to keep up with your friends without having them stop constantly to wait up for you, the e-bike cancels out this problem as well and allows you to get on the trail with your in-shape friends with no issues. This is why the e-bike is such a game changer in my mind, because it is a playing field equalizer for mountain biking fun to a large degree. It basically takes most of the suffering out of getting into shape, and the best part is you are out and about doing physical stuff, which is a win-win no matter what. At this point, as I get into better shape, I'm using more eco mode and less trail mode to keep up with my friends. And now, towards the end of the ride, when I really start to fade after like 2+ hours of riding, I usually just leave it in trail mode, and it's just so enjoyable. Like those last couple miles, instead of like dying, I'm like just like having fun. Now again, of course, the better shape you are in, the better you will be able to ride, regardless if it's an e-bike or not. But knowing you can get out there with your friends day one with no suffering is the thing that will get more people on the trails having fun. Again, it's all about that suffering and dialing in your experience. Last year, for example, I barely went mountain biking because all I could think about was the suffering and not the fun parts of mountain biking. I kind of blame going to the bike parks over and over for that, though, to be honest, using the lift and just going down the hills, because after going to the downhill park, regular trail riding is not near as fun. Well, guess what, guys? With an e-bike, it is nearly as much fun as the downhill park, in my opinion. Mind you, I am not one of those huge, big air type of people, so I enjoy, smaller jumps, but also really love the flow trails and very technical trails. So the bottom line for when it comes to the e-bike argument is less suffering and more fun. Please let me know what you think of the e-bike situation versus the purists. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this matter, and does it even matter at this point? Do you even care? But anyways, that's just it. That's really where I'm at when it comes to the e-bikes now, and the e-bike is definitely, I feel like, my future. So we'll see where it goes from here, guys. I'll catch up with you next time. Take care.